Hi, I'm Robin from Crazy Art, and we're going to show you how to make a little boy band buddy. And what we are going to do with that is we're going to use the Crazy Loom. And for the bands, we have red, brown, black, blue, and a flesh tone color, and 2 pony beads. So what we're going to do now is we're going to show you how to set it up. Now, working with the Crazy Loom with the bracelets before, you would have had it set up one way and then turned it the other way. What we're going to do with all the band buddies is you're going to set up the loom so it looks like an upside down U. So what we're going to do is start from the top, we're going to put the bands down, and then when we're going to pick and loom it, we're going to go from the bottom up, so you don't have to move the loom at all. Now when you look at the little boy, you'll see he's got his arms and legs. We're going to have to make his arms first, and then we're going to add them on to the loom figure afterwards. So to do that, what we're going to do is all times, unless I say different, we're going to use 2 bands at a time. It makes for a more sturdy band buddy. So starting at the top, you're going to put 2 bands between the first and the second post, and you're going to do that for 5 sets. So we're going to do 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now we're going to also add one more set of flesh tone bands, so that's for his hand. Now one of the important things when we're working on our band buddies is we need to do what's called a stopper band. And what that's going to do is that when you pick and loom forward, that's going to keep all the bands in place. So to make a stopper band, and you'll hear this throughout the different videos on the band buddies, you're going to take a rubber band and you're going to put it around your fingers 2 or 3 times. Then what you're going to do is you're going to take that and put it on that last post. So when you start to pick the bands forward, that's going to keep them in place. All right, we now have both of the arms set up on the loom, and now we're going to pick them to pull off and then do the body. So a little trick is with the stopper bands, see how I pulled that with the hook and then I put my finger in there. So now you'll see the bands that are here that will then be picked and moved forward. So you're going to take that first set and you're going to put it on the post that's in front of it, and you're going to continue to pick and loom. All right, see how what I'm doing sometimes is with my other finger just to help moving it along. You can do that. And so what's nice about this is you have that nice little space here so that you can see where you pick your looms. So what you'll get is you'll make sure, see how they almost look like an upside down teardrop? That's when you know it's all been picked. So then we'll just do the second one and then we'll get ready to do the figure. All right, now we have both arms, they've been picked and are ready to be pulled off the loom. So the important thing is these 2 bands that are here, if you just pulled this off, this would all come apart. So take your hook and you dig into that last set of bands, and without hooking your little boy, see how you pull this off? And so now you have an arm, and see the little stopper band made it look like it's a hand. And what you do is you can pull that to the back part of your hook to save it for when you need to add it to the body. And here's the second one. It pulls right off, and now you have your 2 hands ready to go, and we'll add those to the full body when we start to place those bands. All right, now we're going to get ready to put the bands for the figure. And one of the most important things that you need to do first is put what we call the locking band. So there's 2 bands here, and you're just going to sit those on that top center post. And what that's going to do is that's going to be used later to lock the entire band in place when you're done looming your band buddy. So you always want to do that first so that you're not having to try to dig around all the bands when you're done to add them in. So believe me, you're better when you do that. Now what we're going to do is, after putting on the locking bands, we're going to start to add, again, 2 bands every time until I tell you different. So we're going to go from the center post to the left and the center post to the right. Then again with the brown, and this is the brown bands for the hair. Then you're going to do 2 bands in the center. So that's to set it up initially. Then you're going to move to finish the face. You're going to do 2 more bands of brown on the side, so it's the side of his hair. So that's on the left and right side. And then we're going to add 2 bands each of the flesh tone. So on the left, right, and center. And then in the center, you're going to go again with a second band. So see how his face is forming? And just like we had the diagonal bands on the top, we're now going to finish his face by taking 2 diagonal bands going from left to center and 2 diagonal bands from right to center. All right, and then push them down. Try to keep them in the best order that you can for later on when you pick them. Now the only other time you're going to use more than the 2 bands is for the neck, and that's just to keep it in place, make them a little more sturdy. So we're taking 3 flesh tone bands and we're putting that for the neck. And now we're going to start to build his shirt. So the next step, we're going to go to red, and again, as I had said before, we're going to do 2 red bands at a time. So for the shoulders, we're going to do 2 bands from the center where the neck is to the left, and 2 to the right. All right, the next thing we're going to do is we're now going to add his arms. All right, now we're going to add the arms, and this is something that you'll do when you work on the other band buddies as well. So you have these that you had made before on the end of your hook. You're going to put them for the moment on the top of the posts where you put the shoulder bands. So there's the left arm, well, left as I'm looking at it, and then the right arm. What you're going to do next is, and this is to help so there's not so many bands that you have to pick later. You're going to take 2 more bands and you're going to put that from where the arm is to the next post down. And then the trick is, and I'll hold on to the bands, is you pull the arm, and what I did is I put it on by the stopper band that you would when you would set it up. And see how what I did is I slid it off. So now it's hanging between the 2 bands. And so how that is set up, so now it's going to be easier later on when you go to pick the bands forward, you're not going to have all those extra ones. So now what we're going to do is then do the left arm, and then we'll continue with the figure. All right, now we're going to continue with the shirt and then go to the pants. So on the left and right rows, we're going to add 3 more sets of 2 red bands. So we're just going to go and take them, go 1, 2, 3. So there'll be a total of 4 sets of red bands on the left side, and then you repeat it with the right. There's the second set. Whoop. Make sure you have the 2 on there. The third set and the 4th set. Then we're going to go down the center. Again, we're going to go down 4 sets of red bands. So from the neck down. And there's our 3rd set and our 4th set. Now we're going to start on his pants. And for the pants, we're going to go we're going to use the blue bands. We're going to go all the way down the left leg, down the right leg, and then we're going to do something for the center. We're just going to do, I'll do that first. So there's just 2 blue bands for the center, and we're going to go all the way almost to the end, because then we have to add on his shoes. But let's set this part up first. It's better if you work on sections at a time that make sense. So now we're working on his pants. And if you do that on both sides, then you won't miss anything. So there's 1 leg, and we want to give him a 2nd leg. So see, now the nice thing about the way this loom is set up is you see the little tab there? It's really easy just to hook these bands on. because there's a nice big tab there, so that's great. So now what we're going to do is we're going to show how to add on the feet. We have the bands going all the way for his pants, all the way to the end. And now what we're going to do is a different version of a stopper bead. So we have 2 black pony beads. So what we're going to do is take 2 bands and you're going to push them through the pony beads. All right. If 2 are too hard for you, you can always use 1, but 2 just makes it a little more sturdy. So then what you're going to do is take your hook and you're going to put it through one side and then hold on to the bead and bend the other loops so that it's on the hook too. So see what you have now? You have 2 sets of loops from those bands with the pony bead in between. So what we're going to do is we're going to stretch out those 2 loops and we're going to put it on that bottom post. So what that's going to do, like when we did the arms, and when we start to pick the bands forward, this is going to stop the bands from falling apart, and also having the beads, it's just going to make it look kind of like he has shoes. And so now what we're going to do is we'll go ahead and we'll do the other shoe. All right, now we're at the point that we're going to add connector bands. So take a look at the loom and make sure that you have all the bands that we're showing here for the Band Buddy boy. Now after you've checked that, what we're going to do is we're going to add on what we call connector bands. And these bands are going to go across in certain spots of your Band Buddy, and what that does is it keeps it together. So it's not just a bunch of separate little lines. It's what makes your Band Buddy a little buddy. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a single band for the pants, and you'll see they're going to be triangles. So there's one blue that's going to go here, so you make it match, you know, the bands that it's close to. Now for the shirt, we want the shirt to tighten up together. So what we're going to do is we're going to twist the band on itself to make one band. Now with the connector bands, it's just single bands. So we're going to make it tighter, so you can see this is one band twisted on itself to make it tighter. We're going to do that 3 times. So again, twist it on itself and put it on those 3 posts, and again twist on itself and put it on those 3 posts. Now for the face, we're going to just do 1 band. Now we don't want to make that face tighter, we want to keep it round, so we're just going to do 1 band as a connector band on the top. So now check your work to see where your connector bands are, and we're going to get ready to start picking. All right, we're now going to start to loom the Band Buddy boy. And as we had said before, when you're setting up the bands, you go from the top down, keeping it in the same position. Now we're going to pick and loom up. So what we're going to do is, and this is what's nice about having this little bead, is we're going to pull the stopper band out, and that's going to reveal the bands that you can then pick forward. So we're going to do 1 leg at a time. So you're just going to dig in there and pick the bands. So see, I'll use my thumb sometimes to help hold the bands down to pick it in place. Whatever works for you, all right? There's no right or wrong. And then with the connector bands, you want to make sure that the connector bands are behind your hook. You don't want to hook them as part of it. So again, it's behind me, and I'm going to just keep going forward, and I'm going to go all the way till I get to the top of his shoulder. So we'll do this side, and then we're going to repeat with the right. See, now this is much easier when you get to the arm, since the arm is between the 2 sets of, between the set of bands and the posts. It's less bands that you're going to have to worry about. So now we're going to repeat with the left arm, or the left foot, and the left leg, go all the way up. And the other, it's a good habit to get into to do the outsides first. So if you do the left and the right leg all the way up, and on a lot of your other designs when you're working on them, if you do the outside first, what that does is it locks in the connector bands so that it holds it in place, so when you do the center row, it's not going to come undone. So it's a neat little habit to get into. And you'll see, working with the two bands, sometimes what you're going to do is you can give it a little wiggle with your hook and just go forward again. You dig in there, push down, give a little wiggle, and go forward. So we've done now the right leg and the right side, we've done the left leg and the left side. Now we're going to do the middle. Now you'll see the piece here, it's kind of hanging there. You were going to fold this over. So because it's not locked in with a lot of bands, sometimes it's a little trickier, so you just a little more carefully pick and loom that forward. And then we're going to go up the center row, and this will go pretty quickly. Once you get the hang of this, you can get a lot of these done, and you can change up the colors, you can make crazy color hair, so it's a lot of fun. So now we are up to the shoulders. So now we've done all the ones straight up. Now we're going to take the shoulder bands to the center. We're going to take the right and bring that to the center, and the left shoulder bands that are there to the center. All right, so you got a lot of bands on here, but it's not a problem because of the tab on the Crazy Loom posts. It holds it in place. So there's a lot of bands here, and now we're going to continue with the rest of the figure. Now when you get to the neck bands, there's 3 bands, remember. There's a lot of bands here, but what you want to do is if you push down with your hook, see how you can now see those 3 bands there to pick? So you just scoop them up and you can push down, and again, give it a wiggle and move that forward. Now also you'll see there's 3 bands coming from the neck up. So the easiest way to do it is to take the ones that are on top first. And see, when I push this right hand one, I can see that those are the top bands that are on the post here. So we're going to take those 2, and you just take your time. Don't be afraid to take your time. And I'm going to pull those, give it a wiggle, and you see how it goes right over to the right. And then I can pull on this one to see that the left band is the next set of bands to push. So that's a good way to remember it. And so we're going to take those next 2 and put those on the left. And so that just leaves 2 bands, and that goes up the center. So whenever you're at an intersection where there's bands going in 3 different directions, that's a good way to do that. So then again, we're going to go up the right side. Don't forget to take the connector band, have it behind your hook when you loom it, and then we're going to go the left side. And as I had said before, what that's going to do, it's going to keep your connector bands from staying in place. And then we're going to continue up the middle, the rest of the middle. So there's the last one that goes with the hair. Now all we have left to do is the left to the center, right to the center, and then we'll talk about the locking band. So we're going to pull these up over to the center, and then the left side diagonal over to the center. Now, take a look before you finish the locking band. Take a look at your band buddy to make sure that all the bands have been picked and loomed. And you see how they look like little teardrops upside down? So everything's ready to go. So now we're going to do the last step, which is the locking band. All right, so see all the bands that we have here that now are at the top of the loom? See, aren't you glad we put the locking bands in when we first started? So now what you're going to do is give a little tug on here, and you're going to dig in to this last post. And when you pull on these, you'll see the 2 bands that are close to the post, and these are the ones that you're going to pick and loom. So what I'm going to do is pull these and put them both on my hook. So see, make sure that it's captured all the bands, and it has. So now we're going to lock this, and the way to lock it is you're going to take the top bands here and you're going to pull them off of the crochet hook, and then give it a tug and see what that does. See how that locks it all in place? Now what we're going to do is we're going to pull them off. So I'm going to kind of hold up to the top and carefully pull it off. It's pretty easy to pull figures off of the Crazy Loom. And you're going to pull them off and put your loom aside. And what you're going to do is you can pull on them and get them to a position that you like, and look what you've done. You've done your first band buddy with the Crazy Loom.